Hi, this is Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Matt Barry from ESPN. You're getting ready to watch one of the best college football podcasts ever. It's the Harris Highlight Show.
You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you listen to the Harris Highlight Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from my brand new apartment in Monrovia, California. This is the Harris Highlights Show. Joining me this week is our college football expert, Josh Schaefer, our college football analyst, Lyle Goldstein, our executive producer, Brady Klein, and I am your host for the evening, Blake Harris. How's everyone's week been, boys? Josh, I think I can guess how yours has been.
Just celebrating the 8th seed Lakers like it's nobody's business. Blasted I Love LA walking around the block with the homie Steve Schaefer a couple nights ago. Found our neighbor underneath his car working on it without a light, so I don't know what that's about. But
I thought you found him underneath the car.
No. He's fine. He's fine. I think he's fine. But yeah, he was under his car and he said that he was pulling weeds. But in other news, let's go Lakers, baby.
Well, congratulations, Josh.
Thank you, Lyle. I'm sure the Sonics will get there again sometime soon. I'm rooting for you guys.
At this point, the Sonics are going to win a title before the Clippers do. So, Lyle, don't even worry. Don't even trip. Also, if it looks like I'm constantly looking to the left, that's because I have the Dodgers game on my brand new Vizio 4K 65-inch TV.
Well, come over.
Hey, you tell me, Josh. The invite is open. You just show up. They have free public parking, so show up whenever you want. All right, guys.
Tempe, Arizona would never.
Brady and Lyle, you guys are more than welcome to come as well. But the only downside is with this brand new apartment. I mean, obviously, I got the sign there, got the good old Harris Highlights Show there in the back. The lighting is absolutely brutal. This lighting is absolutely brutal. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should have this open, closed. Yeah, I might have to install some lights. But, guys, we have a jam-packed show this week. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. Before we do, we got to get to the ground rules right here. Make sure to follow the show on Twitter at the HHShow_. We did earlier about an hour or two ago. We asked for you guys to ask us your Q&A question. So if there's any culture ball question you have, hit us up on Twitter at the HHShow_. Go reply. And also, when we do our Uni Watch later in the show, as Lyle's going to do every week because he hates fun in college football and doesn't like uniforms, he thinks they should go out there in plain white Hanes t-shirts. He chooses 3 different uniforms from this past weekend, and you guys can go vote for your favorite. And then Lyle will choose whoever has the most votes. If we have a tie, well, we'll let Lyle decide how that's determined. But a lot of fun stuff on Twitter at the HHShow_. You can have a lot more fun also on Instagram at the Harris Highlight Show. Again, if you're on Instagram, make sure to go follow there. It's an absolute must. You guys can listen to our show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link to that is in the description, or you can search the Harris Highlight Show on one of those forums. You guys can support the show by donating to the Super Chat. You know, this is an independent podcast. Three of these guys don't have full-time jobs, but this money from you guys helps support us, help these guys keep doing this on a week-to-week basis, because aside from the donations, these guys voluntarily do this for free. What awesome guys right there. So your Super Chat donations go towards getting these guys new equipment, helping them, make some money doing this show on a week-to-week basis. So if you have like a question, if you have a topic you guys would like us to discuss, like right now, I'm looking at the Super Chat right now, and Wicked Bronco, Lakers are way better than the Clippers, #GOAT James. Sorry, Blake. Well, Wicked Bronco, this year, the Lakers, they were better than the Clippers this year, so I will give you that. We'll have to see what happens. So there you go. I mean, again, if you have anything you want us to discuss, you guys can go to the Super Chat. Johnny, our man Johnny comes in. My Knowles might not have gotten the upset on the Irish. They beat the spread, though. Eat your words up, boys. But Juju Tester did pull off the upset on Trav. Tell him what it is. Good game, Lyle.
Good game, Johnny. Well deserved.
You want to say it, Josh? You want me to?
It's Juju Dwight Schrutzer, like from The Office, but also like Juju Smith-Schuster, the GOAT.
Thanks, Josh.
We didn't score, I don't think, Josh, unfortunately. Unless I'm just really ahead because I'm already at commercial. So
they are actually sad.
Guys, last week when we did our pick'ems, we had it instead of just picking the Notre Dame Florida State game, we did it with the spread, and it was a -21. And I believe we all said hammer it. It's going to be like 30 plus points. And what they win by, Lyle, I think only like 14 or 15 points.
Yeah, they won by 16. Like I said, I wasn't that shocked because I think I said during the pick'em, I'll take them with the points because Florida State isn't any good. But like Notre Dame never covers, I swear.
You know what they say.
Great teams cover.
Good teams win. Great teams cover. So again, guys, you guys can help support the show. You can guys help fund the show like this by, again, donating however much you want. It could be $1, $2, any amount. We'll talk about whatever you want us to talk about, or you can ask us a question and we can get to that. Or you guys can become Patreon members. The link to that is in the description below. You guys, for as little as $1 a month, can unlock all these exclusive behind-the-scenes benefits. We're still trying to figure out a date to have that monthly Q&A Skype session with everyone. We need to figure out how many people we can get on this StreamYard server, or if it's going to be kind of like you have to submit it through Twitter and whatnot. But again, if you guys went in on like a one-on-one private session talk with us, you guys can go over there, learn more information on that. Guys, that is all that needs to be said. I think it's time to talk some college football, some takeaways from week 6. Another great weekend of college football as we've gotten the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. The first thing, obviously, the biggest, the best, and the worst game from this past weekend. I'm not exactly sure. You could make the case for either one. That is Oklahoma, Texas. This game, it went into 4 overtimes. I believe it's I think it was the second, career game in the history of the rivalry to go into overtime. This one went into 4 overtimes. It was fantastic. It was awful. It was whatever you want to think about it. Oklahoma, they come out on top. We said it in the show last week. This would give us plenty of reactions for this week to talk about, and we have a lot. Spencer Rattler, he was benched. Sam Ehlinger, he might be the most clutch quarterback in all of college football, even though he doesn't necessarily win you games. Tom Herman, he's still the coach there. Guys, takeaways from this, again, great, awful game that took place this weekend?
I'll say this quickly. Second overtime game in the Red River Shootout. We're going to call it the Red River Shootout.
Yes, I agree.
Second overtime game in the Red River Shootout. Highest scoring ever. I think it's like 120-something matchups.
Nice.
How's my audio? Am I good? Am I quiet? Josh said I was
No, you're
quiet.
good.
I think you're quiet.
Oh, he sounds good to me.
Oh. Lyle?
He sounds fine. Maybe you can turn it up a little bit if you think you're a little bit quiet, but for the most part,
How is this?
Okay.
phenomenal.
I want to die. Well, what were we talking about? Texas? Oklahoma?
Texas and Oklahoma.
Right. I knew this was going to be an entertaining game. It was underwhelming going in, yes, and I think we talked about that last week. But we all knew it was going to be entertaining with these two teams going at it against each other. There were fans there, but look, like I tweeted this too, or I retweeted this. This was the best bad football game I think I've ever seen. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, at least in my opinion. I don't think these two teams are very good. And coming into the season, thought Oklahoma was going to be solid and miss the playoffs. I said that on one of our first shows. I don't think the Big 12 is going to have anybody in the playoff this year. But, I don't think either of these teams are very good. Texas can't play defense. Oklahoma can't play defense. So that's my biggest takeaway is it was entertaining. We knew it was going to be entertaining, but it wasn't a very good game because the two teams just, to put it simple, aren't very good. Aside from that, I tweeted this for sure. Texas is far from back, but if I'm picking one quarterback to lead me into a tough situation, need somebody to come through in the clutch, he's done this his whole career. I don't know how many people really watch Sam Ehlinger that closely, but the dude has done this 100 times where they're down. He brings them back. It's the second or third time he's done that for them this season alone. I like Sam Ehlinger in the clutch. I think his experience shows. I think his talent shows. And look, the team's not getting the win. They probably should not have beaten Texas A&M a couple weeks ago, but Texas Tech rather. But Tech gave them opportunities. Sam Ehlinger took advantage of those opportunities, and then they won the game. And they were given opportunities this week, and then ultimately Oklahoma was the better team. Lastly, look, we talked about this in our group chat. I said this last week. Spencer Rattler is not impressive. I think that he's very talented. He's stupid talented. That much is
Athletic.
Clear. He's very athletic. My issue with him is, and I've already told you guys this privately, he looks at one receiver. Go back and look at every single play, every play from that game. He looks at one receiver every play. And if he ain't there, he's throwing a pick, he's getting sacked, he's being flushed out of the pocket, he's doing something else. He looks at one dude every play, and he stares him down. That's why he throws a couple of bad interceptions. And then that's why when they scored that touchdown late in the game where the dude leapt up over the defender and caught it, should have been picked off. I mean, that was like Josh Rosen, Texas A&M levels of should have been picked off. The good thing for him is these are all coachable things. He is a freshman. He is a starting quarterback as a freshman, and he plays for Lincoln Riley. So these are things that he's going to get better with. He's going to be a really good quarterback. Right now, I'm not on the hype train. I think he's talented. I think he makes a lot of bad freshman decisions where he really looks like a freshman. But he's going to get better. Right now, I'm not on the hype train.
You know this was the best, worst game of the weekend. When I'm sitting there watching it, it's the Red River Showdown. It's supposed to be one of the most hyped up games of the year. And you've got Tennessee and Georgia in the afternoon slate, and I'm ready to turn that game over and turn to CBS and start watching that. But I can't turn off this Red River Shootout because I'm thinking to myself, God, can this game just end? But I can't stop watching. Yeah, it was something else. Like I said, it was going to be, what did I say last week? It was going to be like 66-60 or something like that. I wasn't that far off. But, yeah, look, so Spencer Rattler is certainly not on my Heisman list anymore, and it's pretty clear he's got a lot of things to work on. But it's also easy to forget, as highly recruited as he was and as talented as he is, he hasn't had a whole lot of experience yet. And I think in the second half of this game, you started to see him figure things out a bit. I mean, he played terribly in the first half. He had the bad turnovers. Lincoln Riley benches him. Then he comes back in the second half, and you look at him and you say, okay, like maybe he figured something out. Maybe he hasn't really been given any tough love in his life because he's been so good his whole career throughout high school and Pop Warner football and all that he hasn't ever really had to have a reality check like that. He sits on the bench for a little bit. Mordecai comes in. Then they put in Rattler again, and he figures it out. Oklahoma wins. I mean, it's pretty clear he's probably not going to win the Heisman this year. And it's very clear neither of these teams are very good. But fun game to watch, sort of. And then in terms of Rattler, I think maybe he's starting to turn a corner here. He's not all the way there, but he might be starting to turn a corner.
Lyle, you stole the thought literally out of my mind as I was getting ready to say. I have it written down here. This is the first reality check Spencer Rattler has had in, I was going to say, the last 5 years, but you brought up Pop Warner and Little League and all that. Up until this point, he has always been the best player on the field, right? Into his career, he's always been the best player on the field. Doesn't matter who he's playing against. He's been the best athlete, player, whatever you want to say. It was really different seeing in this game where this is the first reality check that he's had. Lincoln Riley probably said to him, it's like, you're sitting down, you're watching, calm down, detox for a bit, and we'll put you back in. We're just going to see if Mordecai can do anything different than what you're doing now. Not much difference, so why not roll with the kid who is highly touted, who is a preseason Heisman favorite, a freshman. Yeah, he's young, but this is the first reality check, and the four of us, I know me specifically, like, I've seen Spencer Rattler. I saw him in high school. We've heard some stories about him at his time in Arizona in high school, some off-the-field things going on with him. This is the first, on-the-field discipline Spencer Rattler's really ever had to face. So it's a really good reality check for him to hopefully propel him in a positive direction moving forward. I think, he's a good player. He's a great athlete. He's got the football IQ. But like Josh said earlier, he stares down a receiver, he reads one receiver all the way through and doesn't progress through his receiver options like an experienced quarterback would. I think it was a great bad game, like you guys said. It was a fun one to watch. I was like, I can't wait for this to be over, but I also don't want this game to end.
Yeah, first and foremost, Freddie Freeman's an absolute Dodger killer. My God, the dude just hit a 2-run tank, so that's not ideal. But yeah, I mean, a lot of takeaways from this game. Everyone already hit it, but yeah, with Rattler, I mean, this is, aside from that opening game against Missouri State, which, my goodness, I feel like we could suit up and dominate against Missouri State. The dude has just been underwhelming. I get, this is his first action. Don't know how much time he had to practice in the offseason, but he hasn't looked good. He's athletic. He might be more athletic than some of these previous quarterbacks that Oklahoma's had, but my goodness, the dude is just not clicking, not looking good out there. And anyone could have won this game. Texas could have won this game, and you would be looking at Oklahoma sitting at 1-3, which I know teams can get up to a struggling start. We're going to talk about LSU in a bit, but if you're a team like Oklahoma, you're arguably a top 5, top 6 team in the country. If you're starting the season 1-3, and your lone win is against I don't even know what conference Missouri State's in. There are problems there. So I get Oklahoma; they come out on top. They're 2-2 on the season, but there are definitely some problems that need to be examined in Oklahoma. We have a few donations/questions to get to. So again, Wicked Bronco coming in. This one looks like it's more for Lyle. With Notre Dame's running game being as dominant as it has ever been in a while, and the Irish O-line being as good as it is, how can Clemson stop it?
I mean, because their front four is as good as anybody's. I mean, and we've seen this storyline before. We saw a Notre Dame offensive line that's been as good as anybody's in recent years go up against Clemson in 2018 in the playoff, and they just got dismantled. But I will say, I didn't give my star of the week this week because, I mean, it was only against Florida State. Oh, my God. Kyron Williams. I mean, Notre Dame's had some good backs in the past. Dexter Williams and Josh Adams and Theo Riddick and some others. Kyron Williams might be the best of all of them, and we'll see how he looks the rest of the year. I would not be shocked if at the end of the year you look at the best running backs in the country, and it's ETN, and it's Chuba Hubbard, and it's Najee Harris, and then Williams is somewhere in there. I mean, this guy's a tank, and he's really good. So we'll see how the rest of the year plays out for him.
Is he what's his name, Tank from Auburn?
Not that Tank, but like Tank for a running back because he's like 6 foot, 200 something, and he's got really good vision and power and all that.
Tank Bigsby, Blake.
Tank Bigsby, there you go.
His real name's Cartavius, actually.
Oh, that's fantastic. Our man Connor right here, which Connor, man, you had me buy into the hype with Virginia Tech. Last week I came on the show. I was the only one to pick him for the pick'ems to upset North Carolina. I was giving him so much love. Now, this was a kind of a weird, fun game also going on in that morning slate because North Carolina, they were up like by 3 or 4 touchdowns early on. Virginia Tech came back. Then North Carolina extended the lead to 2 or 3 touchdowns. Virginia Tech came back again, and then North Carolina ended up winning. I think it was 56-45, something like that. But despite my Hokies having a historically bad game, I came out feeling better overall because we finally have our answer for quarterback with Hooker. Plus, Khalil Herbert is still first in country in all-purpose yards and rush yards per game. Yeah, this is a guy, I don't have his numbers up right now, but Khalil Herbert, I think when I asked you guys last week, he was averaging 13 yards per carry. So this dude's an absolute stud. Now, if I would, I'm sure he can say the same thing. If you would have been told, you know what, Virginia Tech, they're going to put 45 points up against North Carolina. They're going to finish with 500 total yards. You would take it. You're just not expecting, North Carolina to put up 56 on you. So again, Virginia Tech, an awful loss. But overall, I think, still like he said, he came out of it feeling okay because they hung with North Carolina, and defensively it was just an absolutely awful game. Guys, moving on now to another game. This was probably the most hyped game, I guess, because these were between 2 good teams. We wanted to see how Clemson would look. We wanted to see how they would look against a legitimate team because Clemson hasn't really played anyone this year. Miami, they hadn't really played anyone this year, so this was going to be their first test. And yeah, Clemson, they're the best team in the country. They're exactly what we thought they were. They're fantastic. Miami, they struggled to no surprise. De'Ara King had a few good-looking plays, but I guess this is just what happens when you take a team not named Bama and you put them against Clemson, and these are the results you're going to get. And I feel like we have our answer in regards to both these teams that we had coming into the week.
It seems like every week, they've played 5 games now or 4 games or something like that. It seems like every week one of us texts our group chat and says, Travis Etienne is legit.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is going to do his thing. The defense is going to be good, but Etienne, I mean, he continues to just embarrass defenses too. And I think that we all agreed that he's probably the best running back in the country, right up there with Chuba Hubbard. But he has won a national championship. He has continuously proven that he is the most dominant running back in college football. And I still think he's overshadowed by Trevor Lawrence, but by a lot. He does not get the respect he deserves on that team because Trevor Lawrence is so damn good. The way that I look at it is they are the team to beat right now. They are the team to beat when the Big Ten starts. They are the team to beat when the Pac-12 starts. And the reason why is all these teams are going to lose games. We've seen that with the Big 12. We've seen it now with the SEC. Teams are going to lose games, and until Clemson loses a game, they will always be the team to beat. Doesn't matter how good Oklahoma. Doesn't matter how good Ohio State looks when they start playing, or Oregon, or USC, or Michigan, or any of these teams that aren't playing. They are the team to beat from here on out, and nothing's going to change my mind.
Yeah.
Herbie and Fowler said it pretty well at the end of the game, and I agree with them, is how many times have we seen this happen over the last few years where one of these ACC teams gets hot, win a couple of games, they're getting some momentum going, they're thinking, yeah, we're ready to play Clemson. We can take down Clemson. Blowout. Absolute blowout. And I said last week on the Pick'ems, look, this is a chance to find out what Miami really is and what they're all about. I think they're a decent team. I think they had a couple nice wins early on, and I still think De'Ara King's a good player. But it's pretty clear there's a massive gap between Clemson and honestly maybe the rest of college football at this point with the way that they're playing. So Miami, look, they'll still stick around the top 15 or so, and I'm sure they'll rattle off a few more wins as the season goes on. I picked them to be pretty good at the start of the year, but it's just so hard to compete with Clemson. They're so good in every phase of football.
I'll be the one to admit this. I'm scrolling back trying to find the exact time I said this. I sent a text in our group chat. It was at 6:30 on Saturday, and I was like, I don't know why, but I have a strong feeling Miami could win the game. Just with everything going on, I just had a strong feeling. I even said, don't screenshot this and post this when they get blown out. You didn't screenshot it. You didn't post it, but I'm exposing myself because it was my own take, and I am able to do it to myself, and I'm one to admit when I am wrong. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. This game was so good for Clemson. They did everything right that they needed to do. Listen, Miami is still a great team, but you just played against the best team in the country. It doesn't matter if you're, ranked second, you're ranked 7th, you're ranked 30th, you're not ranked at all. You're pretty much going to get steamrolled by the number 1 team in the country who's got 2 first-round picks in your backfield, your quarterback, your running back, and they're missing one of their best receivers, too, for the season. So, this Clemson team, imagine if they were at full strength, the danger that they would be scary.
If it makes you feel any better, I think that's the first time you've ever been wrong about the show.
True.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That is true.
I'm not known for anything like that.
So, Clemson, they win by 25. Trevor Lawrence, 29 of 41, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. De'Ara King, 12 of 28, 121 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He didn't look good. Travis Etienne, though, he's been my biggest takeaway so far coming into this season. It was pretty much between Etienne and Chuba Hubbard by who would be the best running back in the country this year. And my goodness, Travis Etienne, I think, is easily the best running back. The fact that he's been able to, we already knew what a great runner he was as we've lost Brady, but that's okay. We already knew what a great runner Travis Etienne was, but the fact that he's been able to add his game with his pass catching abilities, he had 8 catches for 75 yards this past game. This is going to be a dude like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which we saw this past year, where if Travis Etienne goes to the right system in the NFL next year, this is going to be a guy where in your fantasy football drafts next year, he's going to be a top 10, maybe a top 5 pick because this dude is probably the best runner in all of college football. And now that he's an electric pass catcher, which he has to be because, Justin Ross is out for the season. It's been remarkable. Clemson, they're looking fantastic. They're looking remarkable. We got our guy Wicked Bronco coming in right now with another take in regards to this. I think the difference between the 2018 Notre Dame and Clemson teams are that the Clemson D-line is good, but not as good as then, and the Notre Dame O-line is better. Brian Kelly said this is the best he's ever had. Kyron is a Heisman finalist. Well, there could be a hot take right there, Lyle. A Heisman finalist. Who knows? Can he be a Heisman finalist, do you think?
Probably not a finalist, but look, in 2 of the 3 games he's played, he's had either 200. He had over 200 yards against Duke, total yards. He had 185 rushing yards on Saturday against Florida State. Then against South Florida, they ran everybody out there, so they only had 8 or 10 carries. He's really good. I don't know if this and Notre Dame O-line is better than the 2018 one. It might be more experience, but Quentin Nelson's the best offensive lineman in the league, and he was on that team. And then you had Mike McGlinchey next to him. It was a top 10 pick. So good. They might be a little more experienced. I don't know about better than 2018. Yeah, look, I don't think Kyron's a Heisman finalist, but I'll say it again. When the year ends, he's not going to be Etienne, but, look out for him because he might be in that top 5.
All right, guys. So now this is going to be a phone. This is just a brief one, but the legend of Bo Nix continues to grow. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch this in live time. I forget which one of you guys were watching this game as it happened, but for those of you that don't know, Bo Nix, as you guys know that we love him more than anything on this show, straight up nearly cost Auburn the game this past weekend because he didn't know how to cleanly take the handoff.
Under center snap.
I don't know exactly what happened. I've watched the replay a million times. I don't know if there was just no connection between him and the center. I don't know if Bo Nix just Brady, maybe you can elaborate since you played center your football career.
Yeah. Is my audio better now?
Yes, it is.
All right, good. Just reset everything. So you watched the Monday Night Football game last night too. You saw Justin Herbert have the same problem. He pulled his hands out from under center too soon as the center was moving forward. You have two guys going opposite directions and a ball moving one way. It's tough to keep that ball in the middle and get it into the hand. So the center fired off and the quarterback was backing up to make sure he got out of the way to get the ball to spike it. Bo Nix it was just a too fast of an exchange and the ball just fell out. He picked it up and spiked it. However, the ruling on the field that the officials said was, I think they said intentional grounding, but because it fell and they didn't have clear possession of it.
Yeah.
But it would have been a fumble if
it should have been a fumble
if either team jumped on it immediately. No team immediately got on the ball, which is why they said, it wasn't a fumble because there wasn't a clear and obvious recovery of the ball. So that's the ruling in the logistical football mind behind it.
Yeah. So
which ultimately is the right decision. It should have been ruled a backwards pass immediately, but I think when you see that, you're also not thinking, "Oh, it's going to be a backwards pass," because everyone's just expecting him to spike it. The way that I look at this is there's only one thing to say about it. This literally cannot happen. This cannot happen if you're Bo Nix. You have to try to mess this up. It's a spike. You have to try to mess it up. And for me, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought it's intentional grounding. I didn't think it was backwards pass when watching it. I thought it was intentional grounding right away because he fumbled it. Do you guys remember the 2013 Arizona State-Wisconsin game at all?
When they couldn't get to the line?
When they couldn't get to the line.
The extra point thing at the end?
No. So Wisconsin's driving with no timeouts in Tempe down by, I think 4 maybe, or whatever it was. And Joel Stavi's the quarterback. And Stavi comes up to the line and he takes the snap for Wisconsin. But instead of spiking it, because they had no timeouts. So instead of spiking it, he just put the ball on the ground and backed up. And then when everybody was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because that's a fumble, I'm pretty sure. I think they said it was a fumble. And ASU dove on top of it. And then he turned around and went timeout. And it was like, "What game are you playing?" And that's exactly what I thought. It's it's a spike. It's not, I can spike the ball that. It's just such a, I don't know if it's something that teams just don't work on in practice all the time, but you can't mess that up. It's a spike.
So Bo Nix almost does the most Bo Nix thing imaginable that would have given us just some fantastic content. One thing is his line on the night. I just want to say 17 of 28 for 187 yards and 1 touchdown. He did run one in, but against Arkansas. So
not a bad night. I will say this.
Career day.
Bo Nix almost blew the game. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not football.
That's true.
I just don't get how it was reviewed, and then they still couldn't come up with the call. He very clearly threw it backwards.
Because there wasn't a clear and obvious recovery of the ball. So if they said, all right, it was a fumble, there was no one that clearly recovered the football, so then they would have just given the ball back to Auburn.
Yeah, so
it had no difference.
Did get it though?
No one clearly jumped and fell on the ball and came up with possession.
So Bo Nix almost did literally the most Bo Nix thing imaginable. Unfortunately, he didn't. Auburn, they barely win the game against Arkansas. So, Bo Nix. Guys, Florida loses. Were they a tease? Did they tease us? I think they teased us, man. They started out hot. We all thought that they were going to be the real deal. I had them in my playoff prediction for the top 4. I had Kyle Trask as a Heisman, favorite, as a Heisman finalist. And they come out. They do lose to a good Texas A&M team on the road. But Florida guys, just when everyone was starting to get just fully everyone was committing. We were all we're in. We are in on Florida. And now they lose to Texas A&M. They got a game against Georgia coming up. I don't know what exactly their schedule is. I'm sure they have some other tough SEC opponents. And did they tease us, man? Because I feel like this was a bad tease. I can't say it on the show, but They did something to
Whatever
me.
you want, it's YouTube.
All right, they blue balled me. They blue balled me, man. I thought
I didn't
they were
think
gonna
that's where
do
this
it,
was
and
going.
they didn't.
You can say whatever the hell you want.
That's
I
true.
said SMU can SMD.
There you go. Guys, yeah. So
Our
Florida,
professionalism has been
where
thrown
does
out the window.
where does Florida go from here, guys? Where does Florida and Kyle Trask go from here? Because Kyle Trask, he did have a good game, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Kyle Pitts, he pretty much did all of his damage in the first quarter. So offensively, we've said this before. I think we said it last week. We all knew Florida has a great offense. Their defense was what was going to be, the death of them, and it proved to be the case. They allowed 40 points at Texas A&M.
I don't think they were a tease. I'm still fairly high on Florida. I don't think A&M has what it takes to win the SEC, but they're going to do exactly what they do every year, and it's play good football, play the teams that are better than them in the conference. They're going to play them tough. They're going to be competitive, and they're not going to win anything. That's what I think. I think A&M's a solid team. Look, like Florida's offense is elite. There are some weaknesses on defense. There are some question marks. And A&M went in there and they exploited them. And A&M, come on, man. Blake's question was too long. It was just waiting to pinwheel. So look, like I think A&M went in and they were the better team, and they won. And that's all it is for me. I think Florida bounces back. I don't think they were a tease. They now have something to prove moving forward now that they've lost a game to a decent opponent on the road. But I don't think they're a tease. They just need to bounce back. I think A&M played a good, clean football game and deserved to win.
Yeah, I don't think they're a tease. I definitely think their offense is real, and it's pretty clear their defense isn't. I'm kind of with Josh. I think they'll have a good year. It's going to be a pretty classic Florida year where they're well above 500. They're just not national title contenders. But I don't think Texas A&M is elite. I think those two teams are pretty much at about the same level right now, and plain fact of the matter is A&M just came out on top on Saturday. Part of it was, Florida kind of blew it late. They had a chance to march down the field, and when they're losing and they were losing the game, it's 2nd and 10 with like 4 minutes to go or something. You decide to run the ball, you cough it up, and Texas A&M bounces on it. Like that game was kind of thrown away by Florida a little bit. A&M played well, but maybe not Dan Mullen's brightest moment.
Listen, I think this is a bit of an overreaction. I think Florida, they were not a tease. They're still one of the best teams in the country. And I said all weekend long, I think Florida is one of the top 5 teams in the country, talent-wise. Execution-wise, this weekend was a little iffy, but talent-wise, overall, I said they might have the best, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver trio in the country. So there's so many great players on this Florida team. I think Dan Mullins is a good coach as well. He's pretty able to turn this around and get it moving forward, Is it considered a failure of a year if they have one loss? I say no.
Yeah, but they have a bunch of good opponents coming up. And what's up?
They said, they got tough opponents.
Yeah, they got tough opponents coming up, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Florida, don't be my Oregon this year. Actually, no, Texas is my Oregon this year. Texas is my Oregon. And Florida, they're gonna be something else, guys. All right, one thing to talk about quickly before we move on to some other segments. LSU, Mississippi State. Guys, Mississippi State, we were high on them a few weeks. Well, everyone except Josh. Everyone was high on them except for Josh. The whole country, this was like the new exciting team. KJ Costello, Mike Leach. It was fantastic. They scored 2 points this week. 2 points. Now, the offense doesn't get you the 2 points. The defense is what gets you those 2 points. So,
the offense got shut out.
Mississippi State not looking good. LSU, they lost as well. They're now 1-2 on the season. So, guys, we knew that LSU wasn't going to be what they were last year. We were expecting them to have a few losses. That's fine and dandy. Mississippi State, after that fantastic win in week 1, their offense has done absolutely nothing. They lost to Arkansas, which I guess now is Arkansas proving to be actually maybe a legitimate team, so that loss might not be as bad. Kentucky, again, another decent team, but not scoring anything at all. So I'm going to pose the question, guys, before we move on to our next few segments. Are you guys more concerned with LSU through the first 3 weeks of their season or Mississippi State?
I'll jump in here. I'm more concerned with LSU because I'm not concerned with Mississippi State at all because I don't think they're a good team. A couple of weeks ago, I kind of said maybe pump the brakes a little bit on the Bulldogs, and I'll touch on that in a minute if you want to keep talking about them. For LSU, I think kind of like what you just mentioned, Blake, they are missing people from last year. Joe Brady is gone. Joe Burrow is gone. There are people that opted out. That's all hurting LSU. I think they are a good football team that is being exploited. That's what I think is happening with LSU. I think Coach Joe needs to tap in and figure out what this team's full potential is. I think they win a couple big games later this season, but as it sits right now, they have not figured it out. I think they will eventually. Mississippi State, on the other hand, I don't know what to expect from them moving forward. I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff written down that I can talk about with them. They're just not going to get it done. I mean, the one thing, if I won't touch on the Mississippi State stuff, I think they're absolute frauds, just like UCF. But look, best player on your team is not KJ Costello, it's Kylan Hill. We all talked about that coming into the season. And what does Mike Leach do? He throws the ball. Mike Leach does not run the ball, and that means that Kylan Hill is not getting carries. And what did they do against LSU? They figured out ways to put the ball in Kylan Hill's hands without running the ball. And right now, they are not utilizing Kylan Hill to his full potential, and that's why they're not going to win football games. That's why they're not going to score points. Eventually, teams are going to figure out how to stop the pass. If they can't establish a run, they're dead to rights. Like, they're not going to win football games, and they're not going to score points. Kylan Hill's the best player on the field. He's not getting touches. So I'm more concerned with LSU because I don't think Mississippi's a good football team. Not a good football team. There you go.
I'd say I'm more concerned with LSU simply because of how good they were last year and the drop-off that's happened from last year to this year, and so drastically, too, at least to this point. I'll give Miles Brennan some credit. I mean, he's looked pretty good these last couple weeks. Offense has scored points, but I mean, the defense is almost non-existent out there. Look, I went back and watched a lot of highlights and a lot of the plays from this game. Part of it with Mississippi State, KJ Costello after week 1 has just looked horrid. Like, a couple of these picks that he threw against Kentucky were terrible, terrible decisions. And I mean, Mississippi State got into the red zone a handful of times. They couldn't even come away with field goals. Like, I have a whole spiel I could give on this too. Like I'm all for like new modern football, and that's why I kind of admire Mike Leach for what he tries to do. I mean, that's a whole different topic. But the plain fact of the matter is with Mississippi State, if Costello's playing like this, they can't win games. I mean, you can't win games if your quarterback's going to turn the ball over and make the decisions that he's made the last couple of weeks because they've been awful.
I'm going to give you a number right now. It's 68%. That's how much of the starting 22 LSU lost from last season. 15 of their 22. 14 to the draft, 1 opting out. 15 of 22 players. That's 68%. That is what they do not have from last year. That is all of their offensive production, a majority of their defensive production, and everything in between. We talked about this a few weeks ago on the show is, all right, is this going to be a hangover year for LSU? You know, people don't and shouldn't expect Joe Burrow numbers from a guy that isn't Joe Burrow and Miles Brennan. They shouldn't expect Clyde Edwards-Helaire numbers from a guy that isn't Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All of their roster, they should not expect what they had last year this year. I'm not too concerned with LSU. I think they're still an elite program. But what happens when you lose 15 of your 22 starters is you're going to crash and burn a bit. I'm not too concerned with LSU at all. Mississippi State's going to be a roller coaster team this year with a new coach. They got new players coming in, so that's expected in a first year with a head coach, especially one that's new to the conference. So I think the thing with I'm more concerned about Mississippi State because they have a new coach of the conference, new players, whereas LSU, they're going to rebuild. This is a rebuilding year for them. We've seen great teams in years past have an off year, have a hangover year. And this isn't a player having a hangover year because they lost so many of them. So I think I'm not too concerned with either of these teams.
Yeah. So the SEC is going to be an interesting conference this year just because of, every team aside from Alabama looks like they're having early season struggles, some problems. So it's going to be fun to see. Before we move on to our next segment, Brady, you're going to throw a graphic up. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to follow the show on Twitter at the HH Show _ so that way you guys can vote when we post polls like this. At the end of every weekend, we ask you guys to give a grade as to what you would rank or give or grade this past weekend in college football. So A, B, C, or D. 48.6% gave this weekend an A, 38.6% gave it a B, and the other 15%, you just don't like college football. So again, if you guys like voting in polls, I know I love voting in polls. Make sure to go follow us on Twitter at the HH Show _ Guys, we're going to jump ahead to our new segment. Well, we've done this segment in the past. We're going to do another segment this week. Everyone liked this segment last week. And that is over under. For those of you longtime viewers of the show, this is something we did last year where essentially I choose anything I want and I give these guys a number and they pick over under for whatever they think it has to be. So guys, this week's edition of over under, again, if you guys are watching right now in the live stream, you guys can tell us in the comments over under. Let us know what you guys have for that one. Guys, let's get started. I think this might have been one that I've done in the past, but I'm going to do it again for new viewers just in case. In years past, it seems like every year there's a bunch of quarterbacks that finish in the. What is that? A dog barking?
I got a dog.
That's fantastic. All right, guys.
Dog.
In 2015, 5 quarterbacks finished in the top 10 of Heisman voting. 4 quarterbacks finished in the top 10 in 2016. 4 finished in the top 10 in 2017, 6 finished in the top 10 in 2018, and 5 finished in the top 10 in 2019. So, guys, quarterbacks to finish in the top 10 in Heisman voting for this upcoming season, over under 5.5. 5.5. So you think there's going to be more or less than a 5.5 that finished top 10 in Heisman voting?
Was it number 4 or 5?
5.5.
5.5.
Sorry, I was counting.
Again, going back to 2015, 5, 4, 4, 6, and 5.
Finish in the top 10, correct?
Finish in the top 10.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under as well.
All right, guys, moving on to our next one. Combined losses this season from Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State. We're going to set it at 1.5, 1.5.
One more time, Corey. Sorry, I was dealing with the dog.
Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State combined 1.5 losses this season, excluding the playoffs. This is just regular season only, excluding the playoffs. Regular season only, combined 1.5 losses. Are you guys going to go over? Or are you guys going to go under with that one?
Under.
I'm going to go over just because there's so much unpredictability about this season. Somebody's going to lose at least one, and there's one right there. So I'm going to go with the over. Just to be safe, I'm going with the over.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. There's one. When someone loses, that's one. And if someone else loses, that's 2 between the 3.
Hey, everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. Just one.
I'm
gonna go under. I think these are the 3 best teams in all of college football. And I'm glad you didn't pick Georgia in there as well because Alabama, Georgia would throw that number off.
There you go.
Under.
I do my research. I'm going to go over. I think we're going to have chaos this year. I'm going to see some. I want to see some losses. I'm going to go with the over. All right, guys. I feel like this is one we've done as well, but why not? How many Pac-12 teams are going to finish in the final college football playoff top 25 rankings? Now, this is when the season is completely over. They've crowned a national champion. They do their final rankings, whatever it is. Or I guess I don't know if they do it after the season. Maybe it's the AP poll. Whatever it is, whatever the final ranking is when everyone's played. Top 25, 2.5. Do you guys think there will be more or less than 2.5 Pac-12 teams that finish the season in the top 25?
Hammering the over on that one.
Me too.
I'm counting at least 3.
I'm going to go 4.
What teams? I was going to say, what teams do you guys have cracking the top 25 to end it?
I was going to say at least Oregon, ASU, USC, and I'll throw Utah in there too.
Those were my 4 as well.
Those are my 4. Even if Utah doesn't, I think that somebody else will be like. I think
Washington
UW
maybe
could push.
Yeah.
So I'll say at least 3, potentially 4.
Maybe I should have done 3.5, but hey, that's okay. All right, guys, we got one final one for over under. This is a bit of a long one. The worst defense by yardage in FBS history belongs to Connecticut in 2018. They allowed 617.4 yards per game. Ole Miss so far this year, guys, is allowing 641.3 yards per game. So, guys, Ole Miss, will they finish the season with a college football record of 617.5 yards per game? Are you guys going to go over or under that? So the record is 617.5, and so far through the season, they're averaging 641.3.
Okay, listen to this while Josh and Brady think about their answer, because I'm going to go under. This was a tweet about the specific topic. Ole Miss's defense this past weekend prevented 41 total yards of offense tonight. As in 11 drives, they allowed 9 touchdowns, forced a punt at the 40, and a fumble at the 1. If Alabama had gained every possible yard, they would have gained 764 yards, but instead they gained 723. So they didn't give up 41 yards. They prevented 41 yards, meaning 41 yards away from the maximum possible amount of yards that Bama could have gained on Saturday.
What a wild stat. I love that stat.
It's funny because his connection just went out as he was getting so passionate. Well, I'm sorry, your connection went out like in the middle of your just passionate rant, so you could just redo that again. Because
it didn't for me. Yeah, it was fine for me.
Oh, really? Mine went out after they prevented 41 yards.
Yeah, so literally 41 yards from the most possible amount of yards to gain that Bama could have picked up in that game. I don't know if Ole Miss is inspired by the Big 12 or what, but like I know Bama's good. How is that even possible? That your defense could be that bad that you were 41 yards away from the maximum possible amount of yards a team could gain in a single night of football. That's wild. I'm going to go under because I don't think they play Bama every single week. So. But that defense is bad.
I'm going under just because I think they've got some athletes on defense who, hey, a pick comes and suddenly like you have the ball and you're not giving up all those yards. So I think Alabama is kind of like there's an asterisk next to that one because I think that Alabama's offense is really, really good. But there's just good Lord. I just think there's no way that continues. So I'm going under.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under as well. I think, the SEC has turned into the Pac-12 for whatever reason or the Big 12 where it's all offense, no defense. I'm going to go under. I think they get their act together and other teams sort of even out because they've played some good talent so far. Some of the powerhouses in the conference.
I'm just gonna hope they set the record. So let's go with over on that one. All right, guys, that wraps up this week's edition of Over Under. Let's get to our 4 stars of the week, where every week we pick a player, team, coach, anything you want. You give them a star. We each pick something different. So who wants to kick things off this week with their star? Now we are, there is a lot still to get to. So you can just read the stats, why they're your star of the week, and we can wrap this segment up fairly quickly.
Blake, take the graphic, the lower third off the screen so I can.
All right, I'll do it right there.
No, the other one. Do the other one.
Oh, there you go, right there.
And then you can have the scrolling one on the bottom.
There we go, right there.
There you go.
All right.
I got the graphic whenever you're ready. I got the graphic ready whenever you are.
Go with the graphic. We'll just go in order.
Yeah.
I did it in a normal order.
Nice. So for my star of the week, I've got the UNC offense. A couple weeks ago, I had Javonte Williams, the running back. Well, my goodness, somehow North Carolina's offense just continues to one-up itself every week. We had some we had some misgivings about the offense early on, but they have absolutely thrown all those out the window. 56 points, nearly 700 yards of total offense. They ran the ball for 399 yards against Virginia Tech this past week. That's insane. So they ran the ball for nearly 400 yards. They average nearly 10 yards per play, and they get a top 25 win. When you've got two dudes in Michael Carter and Javonte Williams rushing for 400 yards, and then, have Sam Howell as your quarterback, Sam Howell, 2 really good running backs, and arguably a top 3 wide receiving core in the country. I think this is a good offense, and they proved it this week.
Are you guys getting feedback right now too?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll just go next. I'm not getting any, so hopefully, maybe
so
it's on my end.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right. So I went with Jurkovec, and I said a couple weeks ago I would have picked him if I had not done that DJ Ugalele and Trevor Lawrence comparison about having the chance to go number one, like on the same team at the same position. But I mean, he's continued to play really well. And this past weekend, you look at what he did. This was kind of a crazy game, and the ending was wild. But Jurkovec himself picking up a win for Boston College, and he goes for 4 total touchdowns. He goes for basically 360 yards. He's looked really good for a Boston College team that none of us thought was going to be really good. He's really stepped up.
I'm going to go with Alabama running back Najee Harris. 206 yards on 23 carries. That's a hell of an average right there. 5 rushing touchdowns, tying the Alabama school record. So I'm going to go Najee Harris and a big win for the Tide.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one as well. 5 rushing touchdowns. I mean,
it's no Kellen Mond.
I was going to say only 5. Oh, please, that's nothing. Kellen Mond, I mean, this is a guy, I don't know what to think of him. I mean, this is a dude, he should be a lot better, but draft experts think he is the 4th best quarterback available for every reason. Well, he looked good in this weekend's win against Florida, 25-35, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, took down Florida, and he looked good. So, I mean, if Texas A&M can get this Kellen Mond on a week-to-week basis, they could potentially be a sleeper in the SEC, a sleeper to potentially sneak into the playoff. Who knows? So, Kellen Mond, fantastic. So, those were our 4 stars of the week. Guys, let's transition right now into this right here. Who would be in our college football playoff? We did this last week when we did our top 5 or top 4, whatever, for the Heisman Trophy. Essentially, if for whatever reason the season came to a halt, it was no more. The season is done. But we have to put 4 teams in the playoff for the sole purpose of doing that. And you guys are on the playoff committee. You guys are on the voting committee. You guys have to pick 4 teams at this point in the season to reach the college football playoff. Who would you guys pick as your 4 teams?
I think number 1 and 2 are easy. 1, 2, and 3 I think are easy. I've got Clemson. I've got Alabama. And I'm still sticking with Georgia here. Now, this is where it gets tough because I still like Florida. That would require 3 SEC teams to make the playoff. If the season were to halt right this second, who would I put in? Not including anybody else who hasn't played. So I'm gonna say I should have just said it. I'm gonna keep Florida out because I think we're already pushing SEC play at this point. I'm gonna slip in a fun one, and I'm gonna say BYU. Just because they've looked really good. I don't think they're a top 4 team in college football, but they've looked good. They're undefeated. So I've got Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and for fun, BYU.
I've got Clemson, Bama, and Georgia too. Those are 3 pretty easy ones, at least as of right now. I might get backlash for this, but I'm going to be honest. I don't really care that they haven't played a game. I would still put Ohio State in. We know how good they're going to be. There's no way they would have lost a game if they were playing at this point in the year. And then you look at the other teams that are fighting for a spot. Like Notre Dame's number 4 currently. And I'll sit here and tell you they played Duke and they didn't dominate Duke. They played South Florida, who's terrible, and they played Florida State, who's terrible. I'd like to see a little more from them against some better competition before I'm ready to say they're a playoff team, to be honest. Then even North Carolina, look, their offense is phenomenal. Sam Howell is great. Their running game is great. Same kind of deal. They played Syracuse. They beat Boston College by 4, and then they beat Virginia Tech. North Carolina is probably going to be undefeated going into that Notre Dame game at the end of November because their toughest games on their schedule are Notre Dame and Miami back-to-back weeks. I don't think we're going to really know how good North Carolina is until then. I think they're a top 10 team for sure, but playoff team, I think it's going to be a wait and see until they play those guys. And until they do, I'm kind of just going to sit and wonder and say, are they really legit? So for now, I would leave Ohio State in because I think we know how good they are.
I'm going to go, pretty much chalk for those first 3, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, in no particular order. For the 4th, I had a toss-up. Once Big Ten gets going here in 2 weeks, I think Ohio State immediately slips into that spot. I've really liked what I've seen from North Carolina. I think they would have a great chance. My group of 5, I'm going to throw Cincinnati in that final spot. But Oklahoma State, they're just sneaky top 10 team. They're ranked 7th right now. They're 3-0. They've been playing really well. So I think, they keep it up, you could get Oklahoma State in the playoff for the shock of the season to have that be your Big 12 team.
Well, we talked about, I think, and leading up to it, if there's any surprise team that's going to make it out of the Big 12, it's going to be Oklahoma State just because, their trio, quarterback, running back, wide receiver is fantastic. Now that the Big 12, as we've said in weeks past, is the worst conference out there, they very well could run the table and they could make it. I'm kind of upset at Josh because he stole my notes, as he always does. I'm going chalk with the first three, but I was going to go surprise with BYU as number 4 just because they've been impressive. They've really looked good so far in the early season. I think it'd be fun just to have a group or independent team that would make the college football playoffs. So I got BYU as my number 4. But again, Notre Dame, they're probably going to be there when it's all said and done until they play Clemson. And then I think he said North Carolina, like in November, end of November, whenever that is. Oklahoma State's, they're looking good. Some of these other teams creeping up, we'll have to wait and see. But oh boy, wow, yeah, that is. It's not good fun, dude. Good. Speaking of not good, the Dodgers. What is happening? The hell?
This is what happens when you get runners on base and then don't hit, and then when the other team gets runners on base and then hits.
Man, this is.
I think it's Lyle. Lyle, unplug your mic and plug it back in.
Okay, I plugged it into a new jack, but okay.
All right, sounds good, guys. We're going to move on now to a fun segment that everyone loves, UniWatch. So as we do every week, we pick our favorite uniform of the week. Brady, I hope you got the pictures loaded up. I didn't send you a text, so I don't know if you ended up doing that or not, but we're able to do it. So, Brady, you could just throw whatever uniform you want up first, and whoever's pick that is, they can be the ones that explain it. So if you guys are watching, drop a comment in the live chat what your favorite uniform this past weekend was, and we'll also share some of our favorites on that. All right, what do we got, Brady? What do we got?
One second, and
oh, good.
Here we go.
All right, this is, I guess, Lyle's then for right now.
Can you guys hear me? Is the mic all good?
Yes.
Yeah.
If this is mine, then
it is.
Okay, then this is what the fans voted on because I put 3 in the poll for this week. Georgia Tech was in there, North Texas was in there, UNLV was in there, and it was pretty close. All 3 of those teams were within 8% of each other. UNLV came in second with 30%. Georgia Tech won with 34%, and these were pretty nice. They had the nice gold helmets and the navy blue jerseys. They were a little bit different than what they usually wear, but I like the combination, and apparently so did the fans.
Those
big
are
fan.
clean.
Yeah, really big fan.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, they always are a sneaky team in regards to uniforms. Like when they wear the ones with the honeycomb on them, those are fantastic. The all white. So Georgia Tech, they come ready to play all the time. Brady, what do we got next?
Next is, hang on. Oh, here we go. This is mine. So we got Tulane here. They went with the classic. I don't think you can call these powder blue because powder blue is North Carolina, but we're going to call it baby blue. They went with the baby blue helmet, pants, white jerseys. I'm normally not a fan of white jerseys, but this combination was really crisp for Tulane and the green wave. So I think these are some of my favorite helmets in all of college football. Love this very simple. You don't have many clashing colors, clashing stripes. All the striping's pretty uniform. So I'm going to rock with Tulane this week for mine.
Whenever Tulane wears this blue with their uniform, it's always like fantastic. I know it's not their primary color that they wear for their jerseys, but again, every time they wear this, it is perfect. And the helmet is my personal favorite. The color, the massive wave on it. Well done, Tulane. This was going to actually be one of mine, but then I ended up choosing something else.
Well, there you go.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. L'chaim. These. Oh, man, these.
So these are just kind of a unique combination. Again, shout out to the SEC for having stripes on the helmet and the pants that just don't match whatsoever. And I'm noticing that right now for the first time. And now I absolutely hate them. But anyway, it's literally every team. Find me an SEC team that matches their stripes. Anyway, now that I'm all angry about the Dodgers and about this crap, in terms of the actual colors, I think this works really well. The black jerseys that Mizzou wears are just super bold. The white helmets and the white pants, other than the dumb stripes now, are really, really clean. And I just think that, from top to bottom, it just like works really well. And then they also had the black socks, as you can see, with and most of the guys have white cleats. Dude, there's just something about black and white that just when you layer it, I think it looks really good. And it's a combination of bold, but also really clean at the same time. So other than those damn stripes, I think they look great.
Yeah, Missouri, my personal, I mean, those are fantastic helmets, and with the stripe, it actually looks good. But when Missouri wears those black ones with the tiger just like massive on the side of the helmet, those are great ones as well. But Missouri, they're always clean uniforms no matter what they rock, and yeah, those are spot on.
And finally,
and moving on to mine, arguably they have one of the best colors in all of college athletics. North Carolina, their blue is fantastic, but these, a different kind of blue. They still have it on the numbers. The helmets are still the same, but this is something where it's simple, it's basic, it's not over the top, but it just works. The side of the pants, fantastic as always. And something about this where, like, if North Carolina were, they never would do it, but if they were to make these their permanent home uniforms, I would not have a problem with that because they are so clean, they are so nice. It's blue on blue, which is, again, I mean, that's not a combo you see too often. But I think it absolutely works. So North Carolina, again, it's impossible for them to mess up any jerseys they do because they have the perfect color scheme. But this, spot on North Carolina. All right, guys, that wraps it up for Uni Watch. People are commenting some other good ones as well. So if you guys want to vote every week for Lyle's pick, go over to our Twitter at the @HHShow_. Let us know what your favorite uniform was of the week. All right, guys, before we move on to our Q&A and our pick'ems, it's time to briefly go into Blake's bets. I was on a hot streak, guys. I was 9-1. 9-1 over my last 2 weeks. Everyone's due for a dud because I went 1-4 this past week. The only one I got right was the over in the Alabama-Ole Miss game, where I think it was 67 was the over. They scored like 90 points in that game total, something like that. So a rough week. We're 12-7 on the season, which, again, if you're above 500, that's still a successful season. Guys, these are my 5 for this upcoming week. I like Cincinnati -3 at Tulsa. I like Georgia Tech +27 against Clemson. As I've said in weeks past, always bet against Kansas. West Virginia -22.5 against Kansas. LSU, they are +11.5 on the road at Florida. I like that one. I'm going to go with an over. I'm going to take Mississippi State's offense to bounce back. I like the over in the Mississippi State-Texas A&M game of 54 points. So those are my 5 Blake's bets of the week. And Go win yourself some money because we're due. That week is not going to happen again. I can guarantee.
Blake, I texted this in our group chat, and I you may have thought I was joking, but I'm totally serious. If you go an over on the week, I'm setting our Twitter header as an embarrassing photo of you.
That's all good.
Well, it's photoshopped, but it's going to be an embarrassing photo of you.
Which will
we've seen real photos very similar. Photoshopped one.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time to move into our Q&A now. We're going to push this Q&A till about 5:20 or so. Then we'll just go through the pick'em. So we got about 15 minutes to go through some Q&A questions. So hit us up in the live chat with whatever Q&A questions you guys got. We're going to go over to Twitter right now for the first thing here, guys. Our man Johnny, would you guys rather be tackled by James Harrison like that FanDuel commercial, or be at bat with Aroldis Chapman on the mound?
I'm going to jump in here real quick. I'm going to tweak this a little bit and pretend it's a meaningful playoff game, and then I'd rather be in the box against Aroldis Chapman.
I'm going to be honest. I'd rather take the hit from James Harrison. Like, I got asked a similar question once a few years back. It was like, would you rather take a punch from Floyd Mayweather or get hit by an Aroldis Chapman fastball? Like, look, Floyd Mayweather hits you with a punch. You're probably knocked out. You'll wake up. You'll recover in a couple days. And that's it. Like, you get domed to the head with a 102-mile-an-hour fastball. Even with the helmet, like, you never know. I'm not standing in there against Chapman and taking that to the head. And I played baseball, so I'll take the hit from James Harrison.
I'm going to take the hit from James Harrison. I think it'd be cool to say he got tackled by James Harrison.
I'm just thinking of The Hangover, where it's like, I got hit by Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
I would
punch me in the face.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to step into the plate against Aroldis Chapman to get brain damage for the rest of my life on that one. Here's a fun one, guys. If Texas A&M can run the table and finish 10-1 with their lone loss coming to Bama, assuming they miss the SEC championship, can they potentially be a playoff contender? Going 10-1, but they miss out on that SEC title game.
Given that hypothetical, yeah. I think it's possible just because this is such a strange season. I just don't see that happening at all.
it's so hard for a team that misses their conference title game to really have a case to get in unless there's a ton of losses. So unless there's absolute chaos in the rest of college football, probably not.
What was it one more time? I was cutting in and out again.
It was if Texas A&M goes 10-1, but they miss out on the SEC championship because their lone losses to Bama, do they have a chance of making it to the college football playoff?
No, because the winner of that game is going to be probably Alabama, and they'll make their way in. So, no.
And there could be multiple SEC teams, so we'll have to wait and see on that one now. All right, moving on now to our YouTube questions. Do you think Miami deserves to be 8 ranks behind North Carolina? Well, Miami, they did lose, so maybe not
By
8.
a lot.
Maybe North Carolina being 5 is still a bit of a stretch, so maybe in terms of that aspect. But North Carolina, they deserve to be ranked higher than Miami.
Yeah, and I think the 8 ranks is fine. I mean, Miami hasn't proven really anything yet, and then they played Clemson and got smacked. The thing with North Carolina is, I guess, I mean, Virginia Tech was a ranked opponent. I think that Virginia Tech's a solid team, but ultimately, like, they're putting up these offensive numbers that are unreal at the moment. So until somebody figures out a way to legitimately stop Sam Howell, 2 good running backs, and arguably a top 3 receiving core in the country, then yeah, they deserve to be number 5.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with the loss Miami just took this last week. I think it's pretty warranted.
Yeah, that's how the AP poll and that's how voting works. So that's how it is.
There you go. All right, guys. Captain Rob, top 5 bottled water brands.
Number 1, if you've heard of this, you are a real one. Number 1, Deja Blue. Tell me right now that I'm wrong, and you can only do that if you've had Deja Blue and it wasn't life-changing. Number 1 is Deja Blue. The other ones in no particular order are Not Arrowhead, Not Arrowhead, Not Arrowhead, and Not Arrowhead.
I'm going to agree with the latter for sure. Man, top 5 water bottle brands. Okay. I'll put Voss at 1. I'll put Fiji at 2. I'll put Smart Water at 3.
Deja Blue.
Never heard of Deja.
I've never heard of
So
Deja Blue.
They used to have it in the vending machines at my high school. Never heard of it. And someone was like, not going to lie, this water is fantastic. And I was like, it's water. And I bought one for $1. Dude, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's like a Nestle thing. It's fantastic.
All right, I'll take your word and put Deja Blue in there. How about that?
Well, we're all going to put Deja Blue in there.
And then I don't know. I'll put Dasani at 5. Like, that's one of the main brand ones. It's not awful. Like, it's fine. It's a lot better than Arrowhead. So,
all right, guys. The next question up here on the screen as we've lost Brady. Xavion, the most underrated quarterback in college football.
Yeah, somebody pinwheeling that's not me.
I'm back. I didn't get to answer my question. The answer is Smart Water 100%.
All
And
right.
Deja
better
Blue.
than Boss?
Dude,
I'm drinking Trader Joe's Mountain Spring.
Boss is
right
good.
now.
Do you guys like Dasani? I like Dasani.
Yeah, I had them right at 5.
I like Dasani.
All right. Well,
I think no free
Oh,
ads, but hey, water bottle company sponsor us. Let's get
Deja Blue and nobody else.
all right, guys.
If anybody else?
Most
We don't want
underrated
Deja Blue is
college
good.
Football, please. No more water talk. Most underrated quarterback.
It's a high quality H2O.
All right, I'm going to go with mine. I'm going to go with Shane Buechele, my Heisman Trophy winner. Through 4 games, he's completed 70% of his passes, has 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. This guy is an absolute tank. Shane Buechele, my Heisman.
If I'm going everybody in college football, I'm taking Jaden Daniels. In terms of people that are playing, I don't know. I still like Brady White. I still think Brady White's pretty good. I also think Dylan Gabriel is like the second leading passer in the country behind Buechele and doesn't get talked about enough. So maybe one of those smaller school guys.
I'm going to go on a limb. Yes, he starts for one of the top 5 schools in the country. I'm going to go Stetson Bennett. Jumped into the 4th highest Heisman odds after this week's showing. I'm going to go Stetson Bennett. He's underrated still because there was so much confusion and concern with JT Daniels coming in again the starting job at Georgia and Jamie Newman. He wasn't even projected to play this year. Now he's got the 4th best Heisman odds. I'm going to go Stetson Bennett.
All right, guys. We got a donation from our guy Stephen Smith. Stephen, what's your middle initial there, bud? I want to know what that is. Do you think that Iowa State can make the Big 12 championship?
At this point,
because it's
Kansas
Stephen.
can make the
Maybe
Big
he's
12
Stephen A. Smith, Brady.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got it.
Yeah, I think they can. I think it's up for grabs. I think Oklahoma State is obviously the front runner right now, just because they haven't had an embarrassing loss yet. But yeah, I think Iowa State can get there for sure, and they've got the win over Oklahoma too.
Okay, quickly, I didn't answer the last question, so I'll say Matt Corral for the quarterback. That's all right. I'll say Matt Corral for the quarterback because he's been good, and a couple people had it in the comments. He's been really good. Yeah, Iowa State can make the Big 12 championship. I mean, the Big 12's so in shambles this year, anybody could make it. And Iowa State's been pretty good through the first couple of games. So if they keep winning games, why not?
I think they can. I think they got the win. They're in a weird conference, but have they divided that conference in half yet, or is it still just the top two teams?
It's still the top two teams.
Yeah, so that's where you gotta.
I personally like that.
I like it, but that. That's where you gotta get confusion into play. Is all right. Can one of these teams recover? How will Oklahoma State hold up? What are these other teams gonna do? So
I
think they can. It's just gonna be. I have no idea.
12?
What
in the Big 12?
Yeah.
So that's another thing I didn't really notice until we did our conference realignments. The Big 12 is very narrow all the way down. It has to be north and south, if anything. And I think I made mine east and west, and I zigzagged it or something.
Well, Josh, I think I won the Big 12 realignment. So whatever that was, we can just do that.
Congrats on your one win.
Hey, man, it was more than these two had combined, so it's fine.
That's true. It was.
I do think they could win. I mean, they had that one slip up early on against Louisiana, but they've looked good ever since. Brock Purdy, as long as Joe Davis isn't saying, what is he doing? I think that he's going to be fine. I mean, we've seen it this year. Anything can happen. If Iowa State, they can win out, they easily can win the Big 12 championship. Our man Connor, should Virginia Tech still be ranked at 23 after their terrible showing? I think 23 is fine. I mean, again, offensively, they were great. Defensively, 56 is not going to get it done, but I think they've done enough so far this year to warrant being ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, at least for now. I mean, I think there are going to be some Pac-12. Again, I hate the way that the rankings are. I've said this every week. Hate the way the rankings are when there are teams that are not playing that are being considered, but then there are other teams that are not playing that are completely being ignored. Doesn't make any sense to me. But until these Big 10 and Pac-12 teams come in, Virginia Tech is a legitimate top 20, top 25 team.
Yeah.
Every week it will continue to be that way until somebody from the Big 10 and somebody from the Pac-12 comes in and says otherwise.
Yeah, I agreed. They're a top 20 team, 25 team.
Brady, if you're able to Google this really quickly for our next question. First off, does NC State deserve to be ranked? And also, have you heard about their new turnover bone? I personally have not heard of this turnover bone, so that's why I was going to ask if you can Google to see if there's any pictures of it so you can put it up. There have been some, over the years, there have been some fantastic ones. I'm still upset that ASU took away the turnover
games.
Turnover games when they were pulling. There have been some really good ones this year. There was one that I saw the other week. I'm blanking on what it was, but I thought that is fantastic. That's hilarious. Oh, I forget who it is. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me what team it is. They have one of those just little mini basketball hoops that you can just hold up, and whoever gets
a few teams actually
they dunk it or something. Were you able to get a photo of the turnover bone? All right, let's see what this turnover bone looks like. It is our executive producer Brady. That's fantastic. Also, those helmets are sick.
Yeah, those are sick.
Are those the same ones they wore against ASU a couple years ago?
I think so.
The big logo on the red helmets, I think.
So those are fantastic.
The turnover bone's cool. I like the idea. I think that might have to be an added category into our awards show this year, is which team has the best turnover or scoring prop or shtick. I think that's something we could add into it this year.
You know what they should do? After you get the turnover, after you make a turnover, you have to run to the sidelines, take your helmet off, and try to catch it in your mouth. Someone tosses it to you, and you have to catch it.
All right, guys, this next one, our man Wicked Bronco, another Notre Dame question for Lyle. This is probably best for him. Do you think Notre Dame will stay in the ACC if they win the ACC title? And if Kyron has a big game against Clemson, can be up for Heisman. I think we already talked about that. But yeah, Lyle, so let's say Notre Dame, they come out, they win the ACC, they go undefeated, they win the Natty, and they bring, they bring everything to the ACC that is all good and noteworthy. Do you think they potentially stay in the ACC? They are there for basketball. They are there for basketball, and I think other sports too. But football-wise, we've talked about in the past how TV contract-wise, maybe they're not able to. But what if they, just have some fun and they go out there and they win the ACC?
This is not based on what I believe or think or what my opinion is. This is just what my opinion is toward the subject. This is based off what I believe is going to happen. And no, like their whole brand for 100 whatever years is being independent. That's how they make their NBC money. Like there's no way.
I think it would be such a pimp baller move to one and done, win it and be like, nah, see ya.
We're out.
No, that's what it's going to
back.
be, though. I mean,
Yeah.
If they were to join a conference, I've said this before too, I think they should be in the Big Ten. I think that's the style of football they play, like basketball in the ACC. They're in the Big Ten for other sports, but it's all about money. Like for Notre Dame, they are going to make a majority of their money between those two major sports in men's basketball and football. Like 95% of it is going to be made from football because of sales, because of ticket and merchandise sales, but mostly television. Like their games are wherever you live. They are on Channel 4 every week.
They're on Channel 13 here every week.
It's 5 here.
Really? Okay, so in Arizona, isn't NBC Channel 4 also?
I can't remember.
I don't, because in California, I think up and down the whole state, I think it's 4. I could be wrong, but it doesn't matter. You're not on NBC Sports. You're on NBC
Channel 12,
National
Josh.
Television.
Channel 12 in Arizona.
That's another reason it made it so easy to be a fan of them growing up. Not just because I wanted to watch games with my friend, but it was never like, oh, well, there's one week where they're not on TV, so I can't watch. They were always on TV. So
that's why they have like the biggest fan base in college football. Like, because
like
you can watch them anywhere.
Blake, real quick, answer to our last question. It was Pitt that had the turnover hoop, the turnover dunk. Yeah.
Someone, where to go? I must have missed it right here. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. There's also the turnover pencil at Akron.
Dude, Harvard's got like the turnover calculator.
I like it.
The turnover
one final question for everyone here, guys. Do you think Auburn is going to be an SEC contender? I'll keep it short and sweet. Bo Nixer's a quarterback. Nope. Let's move on to the pick'ems, guys. We got a fun one this week for our pick'ems. Not going to get the music because I went back and listened to how the recording sounded, and the music sounds absolutely awful in the recording. So no music, unfortunately. There it is. Look into our pick'em leaderboard, guys. I didn't adjust to the bottom right now, but I should have moved it up. Josh, you're now in last place, bud, with 29 points. I had a resurgence this past week. Wow. So sorry, dog. Braden and I are tied for 30. Lyle is still kind of running away with 34, but
why is it out of order?
I forgot to move it. But I'm just doing so much over here, guys. Let's get things underway again. If you guys want to let us know who you think is going to win this game, hit us up in that live chat. The first game, guys, number 17, SMU at Tulane.
NCAA leading passer, Shane Buechele. And I've got the Stangs by 14.
Yeah, Buechele is a big day. Give me SMU.
I'm going to tell you this now. The road dogs this week are going to be riding hot. Watch out for a lot of these road teams. I'm going SMU by 2 scores at Tulane.
Yeah, it's tough to always pick against Tulane. I always want to pick them just because for whatever reason I like them. I like their uniforms with the green wave. But, SMU, my man, Heisman candidate Shane Buechele is going to come out. He's going to throw for 5 tutties. You heard it here first. Number 14, BYU at Houston, the Battle of the Cougars. We love Cougars, don't we, guys?
Love them.
Houston finally played. Good for them. And they won.
Want to know,
Good
baby.
for them. But BYU is a very impressive 4-0. They are a playoff team at the moment, and they're going to be partying in BYU this weekend. BYU is going to be saying BYOB to all their parties. Bring your own bottle of milk. I've got BYU by, let's go, 7.
But they'll only be partying until 11:59 p.m. once curfew riles in, and they can't do anything on Sunday.
That was good, Josh.
That was really good. That was a good one.
I'm going to go with BYU. I think they win by 10.
You know, BYU, number 14 in the country, number 1 in Blake's hearts. They're going to say hello to the win column at Houston.
I got to go with my Cougars. They're my playoff pick. I got Zach Wilson as a Heisman candidate. Let's go with my Cougars over the Cougars. Number 8, Cincinnati. That feels weird saying. At Tulsa.
I think Cincy gets the 2-0 in conference play this week. I mean, who did Tulsa played? They played SMU a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Didn't they?
They played Oklahoma State.
They played Oklahoma State. Yeah, and
they beat UCF. They took down UCF. That's who it was.
Yes, you're right. So they've played 2 pretty good games. I like Tulsa, but I think Cincy gets the 2-0 in conference.
Agreed. I got Cincy.
Yeah, I'm Luke Fickell and his squad. You know, Jared Dokes is a bulldozer over running back. I'm going to go Cincinnati.
I'm going to go
three. We got 3 straight road teams winning, guys.
I got Cincinnati as well, guys. Number 15, Auburn at South Carolina.
This is a tough one. I'm not super high on South Carolina at all. Also not very high on Bo Nix and Auburn. This is going to be close for, I would say, 75% of the game. We'll go 3 quarters and a little bit into the 4th quarter. Ultimately, I think Auburn wins by a touchdown. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm going to take Auburn too. It'll be close. All of Auburn's games have been pretty close for the most part. So give me Auburn by 7.
I'm going to go Auburn by 10 points in this one. I think South Carolina is going to be a tough test for them, but I think Bo Nix can have a decent game and get the win.
I hate the Dodgers. But guys, I'm going to go with the Cox in this one. I like the Cox.
Cougars and Cox, Blake, your 2 favorite things.
Cougars and Cox. Kentucky at number 18, Tennessee.
Oh, boy. Tennessee led Georgia on the road at halftime last week, and then in the second half, they started playing a different sport. I don't know what they were doing, but it was just absolutely horrible. I think they bounce back this week against Kentucky. I like Guarantano to bounce back. I'm going to take Rocky Top.
Yeah, there were points in that first half that Guarantano looked really good, and then things just kind of fell off in the second half. I think Tennessee will bounce back. Give me Tennessee.
You know, I wanted to pick Jarrett Guarantano for my underrated quarterback from a couple minutes ago from that question. His second half was rocky. See what I did there?
It was bad. It was not top.
Thanks, Josh. It was rocky. So I think Tennessee's going to get the home win here. I think Kentucky's got a decent SEC squad, but it's tough to compete against some of those big dogs. I'm going to go with Tennessee by at least 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tennessee as well. Got to go with Rocky Top. UCF at Memphis, a really good American Conference battle right here.
All right. Before I make my pick, I decided to look at the numbers for this game.
Oh, God.
Both offenses are averaging over 500 yards of total offense per game. UCF's pushing 6. Memphis is at a cool 550, but both are averaging over 500 yards per game. Both defenses are averaging over 450 yards per game. They're both pushing 500 there too. The over-under on this game is 75-ish. I think it's 75.5, but when you actually click on the game, it gives you the round number for whatever reason. So at 75.5, that's a lot. So I'm still going to absolutely hammer the over. This game is going to be 65-58, and I've got Gabriel over. I've got Gabriel over White. I've got UCF over Memphis. I'm kind of going to be rooting for Brady White in this one, but I think UCF gets the win on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to take UCF. Close game, but I'm going to take the Knights.
Well, it's time for me to make a splash and chip away at that lead. I'm going to go Memphis at home. I really like what Brady White's done the last couple of years. I'm going to go Memphis.
I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was our first or second year doing the pick'ems when I was in dead last and I wanted to make a comeback. And whoever was in first, I think I took the opposite of whoever they took with the hope of just making up ground. And that did not do anything.
To the bottom.
But I am going to go with Memphis in this game right here. Ole Miss at Arkansas. Guys, how many yards is Felipe Franks going to put up against this Ole Miss defense?
Not 700, like Alabama almost did. Look, Razorbacks have been competitive, but offensively, I thought Ole Miss exceeded my expectations against Alabama's defense by a lot. Matt Corral is a little bit up and down for me. His numbers have been pretty good. I'm still on the Lane train this week, so I'm gonna roll with the Rebs.
Yeah, I just talked about Matt Corral in that segment, and Ole Miss, while their defense has been almost non-existent, their offense has been really, really good. And look, Arkansas hasn't had a whole lot of SEC success despite what they've done in these last couple weeks. I'm going to take Ole Miss.
Man, I'm picking against you guys again. I think Felipe Franks in Arkansas, after a fairly decent showing this last week, I'm going to have Arkansas winning at home against Ole Miss. I love the Lane train, but man, I think Arkansas can get a win here this week.
It's all you got to go with Lane in these kind of games. I'm going to go with Lane. This game is going to be an absolute disgusting slugfest, but I'm going to love every second of it. It's going to be whatever the over-under is, take the over because that's what's going to happen in this game. There's going to be points flying. There's going to be points everywhere. The defending national champions who find themselves unranked at number 10 Florida in a game, one, that might not happen, two, in a game that might feature 90,000 people in the stands. So whatever happens, Florida. Not surprised.
The Florida governor says you guys can open your stadiums to full capacity. Then Dan Mullen says, I want 90,000 in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium on Saturday against LSU. And then Florida has their highest coronavirus, their worst coronavirus outbreak so far. So, hey, maybe don't let all the fans in.
You know what his nickname is, right?
Opinion.
You know what the Florida governor's nickname is, right?
Oh, I thought we were talking. What?
Oh, DeSantis is what they call him.
Oh, yeah, DeSantis. I thought we were going to go Dan Mullen, whose nickname is Dan Mull, let them all in. I don't know. I think LSU's ultimately think about him. Am I muted?
No.
It says the host has unmuted your mic on my screen. That's okay. I think it's a close game. I'm just not going to pick against Trask and Pitts at this point. So I've got what in the world is happening on this show? Oh my God. I've got Florida by 6.
I'm going to take Florida by a little more than that. I think it's going to be like a 41-30 type game. I think it's a high scoring game, but
Who'd you pick? You cut out.
Florida.
Okay. Yeah, I think Florida too. I hate picking against LSU. I think Florida is going to win. You know, you got Laura Rutledge as the virtual Miss 2 Bits this week. You guys know that? Yeah. You know that? You know what I'm talking about?
What?
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. Cheer for Florida, stand up and holler. Hooray.
Oh, my God.
Dude, this is like one of the oldest college football traditions ever, and I learned about it today.
Well, there you go.
Never heard of it.
There's this guy who used to I'm telling you a quick story because I can. There's a guy who used to go to Florida games in like the 70s and wore like a yellow shirt and a tie. That was like a blue and orange striped tie. And he started like cheering in the stands. He was in the stands and eventually got like 20 people to do it. The next game they got like 50 people to do it, and then a couple games later they had like a couple hundred people to do it. It got to the point where Florida named this guy an honorary alum of the school and had him on the field before every single game to do this in front of the entire stadium. And now they like have some honorary person come do it every week. It was super cool. I'd never seen it before. So Laura Rutledge, Florida grad on ESPN's doing it this week. So I'm going to go Florida.
For that reason, I'm going to go Florida as well, because why not? I was going to say for that reason, I'm out, but for that reason, I'm going to take Florida. Guys, a few games left. Number 11, Texas A&M at Mississippi State.
A&M, back-to-back wins. I'm taking the Aggies by 17.
Yeah, Mississippi State's been pretty uninspiring the last couple of weeks. Give me Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas A&M on the road. Another road team winning this week.
Yeah, Aggies, easy. Best game of the week, guys. Probably best game of the year so far. Number 3, Georgia at number 2, Alabama.
This will be a good one. Georgia's second half was really, really impressive going into the locker room, trailing at home to Tennessee, a ranked team who we all think has been better than maybe even expected. We've all kind of been happy with Tennessee so far. And Georgia looked really good. I just think it is so hard to pick against Alabama right now. I know they gave up 100 points to Ole Miss and still won. Like, there's just no reason for me to pick against Mac Jones and company with that offense. And Saban's proven that they win these games in the past. I've got the Tide.
See, I thought some of the defensive struggles for Bama would be fixed this year after getting Dylan Moses back, and it hasn't happened to this point. I mean, they let Ole Miss run all over them. Where you look at the Georgia side of the ball, and their defense has been great. I mean, LeCount and all those guys in the secondary have been phenomenal. But when it comes to a battle of offenses, it's just not close. I think Bama prevails. I think it's close for about 3 quarters, and then Alabama pulls away at the end. Another guy we should have thrown on the underrated quarterback list is Mac Jones. What he's been doing this year after so much speculation about who was going to be their starting quarterback, Mac Jones has been, I think, proving that he deserves to keep that starting job for the time being. I'm going to roll with Alabama here in this game. So I'm going to think Alabama can beat Georgia in what is the best game of the year so far, and I think will be the best game of the year the entire season. Oh, my God, that's loud.
Yeah. Wow.
We got to figure out what that is.
Guys, I think this game, Georgia, props to them. They're a good team. I think Bama blows them out of the water. I think this is a double-digit win for them. I'm going to go with 15, 16 points at least. Sorry, Georgia, but Bama, I mean, their offenses look so good so far this year. They had one defensive slip-up game so far. Georgia, as Josh said, Tennessee forgot how to play football this past weekend in the second half for whatever reason. It was a close game.
They were playing tennis.
Yeah, they were not looking good out there.
Tennis.
So aside from that second half, before that, Georgia has not been too impressive for me so far this year. I got to go with Bama. I'm going to go with Bama huge, which brings us to the final game. The absolute worst of the worst, guys. North Texas sitting at 1-3, at Middle Tennessee sitting 1-4.
Look, guys, North Texas is really mean. They're also green, which means they care about the environment. And I dig that. So I'm taking the angry recyclers. I've got North Texas.
North Texas lost the Uniwatch poll on Twitter. There we go. But they're going to win this game. Give me North Texas. The battle of directional states. I think Middle Tennessee will beat North Texas.
I'm just going to go with North Texas. I really don't know why or care, but North Texas in this one. Guys, that does wrap up this week's edition of the Harris Highlight Show. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at the HH Show _. You guys can also follow us on Instagram at Harris Highlight Show. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. Hit us up on Patreon. Become a member. That way you guys can talk with us, have some fun, get some behind-the-scenes benefits. A lot of cool stuff. Guys, any parting words before we see each other next week?
Hey, thanks to everyone who donated this week. We had a fairly decent amount.
I'll have to go back and tally that up so we can spread the wealth via Venmo, because it was a lot. So, yeah, thank you. Well, it was a few people, but I can't remember what the name was. Bronco. I think there's a Bronco in there.
Mendenhall.
You can only go so up in your comments. Thank you, Bronco. Thank you,
Wicked Bronco.
Thank you to our man, Johnny. Thank you to everyone that donated. Again, it helps the show. It helps us do this on a week-to-week basis. These guys will be getting their Venmo, so don't you guys worry. But any parting words, guys, before we head out?
Go Dodgers. At least I've got the Lakers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Devils.
Hey, but go Lakers.
Go Clippers.
Oof, man. Now I feel bad for Blake.
Yeah.
But Lyle, go Sonics and M's, baby.
Lyle's got the Seahawks.
Hey, Lyle's got DK and Russell. He can be happy about that.
Yeah, look, I'm getting real sick and tired of this. Before we go, I'm getting real tired of Lyle's Seahawks just winning all these games. I already texted him and our friend TJ, who's also from Seattle. Why can't things work out perfectly for me, a Rams fan, where the guys on my fantasy team, Russell Wilson and Chris Carson, absolutely go off like they do every week, but the mute self, Blake. Thank you. But why can't my guys go off and lose? Like, that would be great.
How are you losing games if you have Russ and Carson?
No, I'm winning games. I want you guys to lose games. Why can't this work out perfectly?
Because let Russ cook, let Russ cook, let Russ cook. That's why.
It also is disappointing that somebody else in our league had the name Let Russ Cook without having a guy named Cook or Russ on the team. I have Russ and 2 dudes with the last name Cook, so I don't use that name.
Hey, if you ever want to feel better about your organization, just know the Arizona Cardinals took Andy Isabella over DK Metcalf.
And the Eagles took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, yeah, that actually might be worse than Andy Isabella. At least Andy Isabella has been somewhat relevant. Arcega-Whiteside has done absolutely nothing. So, hey,
He caught a
could
pass
always be
last
worse.
year.
He caught a pass last game. It was pretty good.
Caught a
too.
pass. So,
Good for him.
hey, if you're on the Eagles, anyone's catching passes for that team. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back here next Tuesday, as always. Twitter, Instagram, find us there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Find us there. Again, Twitter at the @HHShow_. That's the best place to interact with us and find all the content you guys could possibly need. For Josh Schaefer, Lyle Goldstein, Brady Young, this has been Blake Harris from my brand new gorgeous apartment here in Monrovia, California. And maybe next week. And I'll see all you guys right back here again next Tuesday night.